What's up, everybody? Justin Graver and Justin Melo from the Music City Audible podcast back again with another exclusive YouTube video breakdown. Today, we're breaking down Defensive Player of the Year. And while I got you, make sure you subscribe to this channel and drop in the comments below. Who's going to win Defensive Player of the Year? Who's your pick? Let us know. I'll be interested to see what people think, because this award to me is a little more wide open, I think, than some of the other ones we've talked about so far. Here's the odds for each player. Micah Parsons is the current favorite at plus 650. Myles Garrett right behind him, plus 750. TJ Watt right behind him at plus 850. Nick Bosa is right there too, plus 1200. Those are your last two winners, Nick Bosa and TJ Watt. Nick Bosa won it last year. TJ Watt won it the year before that. Now, what I'll say about this award before we get into our picks is very often it goes to a sack artist. It doesn't always go to the guy who leads the league in sacks, but very often it goes to the guy who is near tops of the league and potentially leading the league. It also usually goes to a player playing on a team who makes the playoffs. They don't necessarily have to be a great team, but typically if your defense isn't very good overall, you're not going to win Defensive Player of the Year, even if you've been a great defender yourself. So who's your pick, Justin, for Defensive Player of the Year?
My pick is Myles Garrett. I'm going with the second overall favorite here. Let me hit you with some numbers. He has had double-digit sacks in 5 straight years. This past year, he had 16 sacks, which matched the previous career high. He trailed only Bosa for the league lead in sacks, Nick Bosa, who ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year last year, as you mentioned. I like Myles Garrett for a couple reasons. First of all, we know the sack production is going to be there. He's got a new defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz, who possesses an excellent defensive mind. If you're a Titans fan watching this video, and you might be, you all know Jim Schwartz was a defensive assistant with the Titans over the last few years and is an ex-Titans defensive coordinator. Garrett's got a new running mate in Zadarius Smith, who they acquired through trade. A much better running mate, in my opinion, than he's had in recent years. And I know Jadeveon Clowney was on and off from a production standpoint. I love Myles Garrett. He's never won this award, which kind of blows me away, in all honesty, because he's been one of the league's most consistent defenders ever since he entered the league as the #1 overall selection. Myles Garrett will record 15 plus sacks once again. And you talked about the playoffs. I like the Browns to make the playoffs this year. I think Deshaun Watson's going to get better at quarterback, that continuity with the coaching staff, a great new defensive coordinator. They added lots of pieces defensively. It wasn't just Zadarius Smith. I really like Dalvin Tomlinson, who they added in free agency. Juan Thornhill, a Super Bowl winner with the Chiefs, is a new starting safety. Great secondary there with Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward. I think this team's going to make the playoffs this year. I think they'll be a wild card team at worst. I really like Myles Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year.
I think that's a great pick. They could almost give it to him like a legacy award. Like, you've been so good for so long and you haven't won Defensive Player of the Year yet. This time it's your year. So I think that's a great pick. It's not my pick, though. I'm going with Micah Parsons. I'm taking the chalk. I'm taking the favorite. I think Micah Parsons, he won Defensive Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago. Last year was hardly really in contention for Defensive Player of the Year as he transitioned to playing edge full time. But I think this year in Dan Quinn's defense, I think the Cowboys are going to win their division. They're going to be a playoff team and they're going to have a stacked defense. We know they have a lot of talent in the secondary. Micah Parsons is a guy that could take a huge jump in sack production. He had 13 again last year. Two years in a row, he's had over 13 sacks. I think he could get up to 15 or 16 this season. He was near tops of the league in pressures, right behind Nick Bosa, who led the league in pressures. He just wasn't converting those into sacks last year. If he's able to convert even a handful more of those pressures into sacks, he's going to jump up to 15, 16 range. He's going to be a true difference maker. He has the narrative going for him because people already love him as a defender, as a versatile player, as a guy who won Defensive Rookie of the Year. The next step for him is to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think this is the year he finally does it, and he is the favorite. So I feel a little dumb picking the favorite because I want to just like be a little more spicy than that, but I am going with Micah Parsons.
Well, I love that pick, and in all honesty, I flirted with the idea of making the same pick. For me, it's really close between him and Garrett, but they're my overwhelming top two choices. Look, you said a lot of it, but I'll add on. He had 13 sacks as a rookie, Parsons. He shocked the world, right? He was coming into the league to play off-ball linebacker, made a transition to edge out of necessity, right? They had some injuries at the position, I believe a suspension or two. He's terrific at the position, 13 sacks. Comes back last year. What's the most important thing he did, in my opinion? He proved that it wasn't a fluke. He played edge on a full-time basis. He had 13 and a half sacks, right? He took a bit of a step forward. He had half a sack more than he had as a rookie. My bold prediction for Micah Parsons and his career in general, I think he's capable of having a 20-sack season. I don't know if that'll happen this year, but I think he's very capable of doing it, whether it's this year or the following year, whatever it is. That's a great pick. I've got no qualms with Micah Parsons as Defensive Player of the Year.
As we get into sleepers, it's a little bit tougher because I actually want to pick a cornerback for my sleeper. The thing is, cornerbacks don't win this award very often. In 2019, Stephon Gilmore won it with the New England Patriots. Before that, the last time a non-defensive lineman, whether that be tackle or edge, won it was 2010 when Troy Polamalu won with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But a large reason for that is that this award has been dominated by Aaron Donald and J.J. Watt, who have won it 7 times together combined since 2012. Doesn't leave a lot of room for other players, especially in other positions, because those guys are winning it year after year. I think Ahmad Sauce Gardner has a chance to win this award. He was excellent as a rookie. If he takes even a little bit of a step forward as a second-year player, I think he has a chance to win this, and I love the value that you get betting Sauce Gardner plus 1,500. It's not a huge sleeper. He's not a deep sleeper, but it is more difficult for cornerbacks to win this award. However, he has the pedigree of being a top 5 pick. He has the pedigree of already winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. And if you've been following these videos and you're on to the Defensive Player of the Year one now, you know that my sleeper for the last 2 videos so far have all been New York Jets. Let's make it 3 in a row. I'm going with Ahmad Gardner as my sleeper pick for Defensive Player of the Year.
He's certainly good enough to be a Defensive Player of the Year type candidate. I think the main question there is some of the production. Is he able to record enough interceptions and pass breakups if he is such a shutdown corner that teams maybe aren't throwing his way as often? So I think that's the one caveat with Ahmad Sauce Gardner, but certainly the quality is there for him to be a Defensive Player of the Year.
All right, if you like this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Drop in the comments below who's your pick for Defensive Player of the Year. We'll be back soon with another video talking about Offensive Rookie of the Year. We got Defensive Rookie of the Year down the line. We got Coach of the Year coming, Comeback Player of the Year coming. So make sure you're tuned into the channel, subscribe so you get notifications. Until then, y'all stay safe out there. And even if you're not a fan of the Titans, tighten up.